today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street.
The world of nations and work are arranged in spaces. Public space, private space, hospitality space, banking space, tech space, even philanthropic spaces. But now what is next? What is the next space? I propose it will be a space that captures all spaces into a single civilizational ecology. How would this occur? Should it be waited upon, or should it be cultivated assertively? This road will not be easy. See these marinas? They're usually filled with billion-dollar yachts. Do you see these cruise ports? They're usually filled with millions of visitors. What has happened? There have been 258 pandemics in recorded history. 4 of them, the bubonic plague in 1347, which merged with the Black Death, the AIDS pandemic in the 1980s, which changed social sexual mores, the Spanish flu in 1918, which altered the Treaty of Versailles, and now COVID-19, which will change the world more in the next 3 years than it has changed in the last 300 years. What will it mean for democracy? What about interpersonal relations, something as simple as the common handshake? What about identity? Will our health become the foundation of identity? What will it mean for the relationships between nations, for travel, for work, for the global economy? What about you?
a series of lectures coming up on the topic, what is the next space? And I invited him to come on during this first week of the new beginning of global paradigm shift, because I think that this is a conversation that we need to have, because I think we need to take a real look at truly where we are and where we're going. And so, guys, I'm getting messages. Okay, they're working on it. For those of you on Facebook, they're working on the volume. I wonder if I did something here. No, it's good. Okay, so Professor Gilbert Morris, welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift.
Good morning. Congratulations. Happy New Year, first of all. And congratulations on your new show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's always good to see you. Always good to have you, on the air, because you bring such a wealth of knowledge and information. And it's a good thing to see you. Happy New Year. I haven't seen you since last year.
Yes. It's been quite a time. And if you look at where things are, I think your show was the first show I did when COVID began.
Really?
Yes, in February, I think late January, February. And I think I made about 16 forecasts about what is going to happen. But I made 8 of those on your show the first time, when I think I said that COVID is forever. I said that we should operate as if the U.S. ceased to exist. I said that this is late January, that tourism would not come back in any appreciable manner until the end of 2021, the beginning of 2022. And I argued that we should develop COVID-free trust zones using Exuma, Eleuthera, Paradise Island, and using those remote areas, we could set our economic path and protect ourselves. I also warned that there could be mutations in COVID-19. And another point that I made was we should never rest on our laurels in a pandemic and think that we had mastered any aspect of a pandemic, that the secret of a pandemic was for officials to learn, unlearn, and relearn processes immediately, even things that seem successful, constantly to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I think it's fair to say that all those things have proven correct from just about a year ago.
So when we look at what is happening worldwide, economy is crashing everywhere. Countries in and out of lockdown, in and out of lockdown. Now we're looking at a new, more contagious mutation of COVID, and it's like, here we go again. And as you said, from your estimation, this thing isn't going anywhere, and I tend to agree with that. In this new normal, how do we respond to ensure that we are putting in place the systems that will uphold us as a nation in the face of all of these new realities that we face?
Well, one of the things I said to you a year ago was that we had to face the fact that COVID is not our biggest problem in the Bahamas in
Mm.
particular, and in much of the world, that our real problem was the economic impacts of COVID, and the potential for COVID to destroy our economic model. And as you alluded to, the new variant strain of COVID-19 really puts us at risk. I had said a year ago, we have to avoid getting banned by the United States or any other country in the world. And I'm not blaming anybody, just as I said on that show a year ago. I'm not blaming anyone. We need the government to be successful. We need everybody in the government to be successful. We can't afford for them not to be successful. So the point that I make is that I made then was that if we fumble and we make mistakes and we approach this thing the way we approach, and that's all governments and the society in general, the lazy, reactive way we approach everything else, we will find ourselves banned. Now, if you look at the United States has put this rule out that now you need ingress and egress tests. Well, to get into the United States and to leave the United States to go elsewhere, well, you can't, there's no way to run Bahamian tourism on the model that we have on that basis. That's number one. Secondly, more than 50% of our tourists came from cruise ships. But I don't see any horizon in which the cruise ship industry can survive in its old form. So you have this terrible situation again where COVID-19 undermines our tourism model. If the variant strain really takes hold, governments will respond in an extreme manner. I was in conversations in the last 3 months explaining to people that what we have to look out for now are vaccine visas, where you require a visa to get into a country. On your show a year ago, I had said that
We talked
vaccine
about
visas. Say again?
that. We did
Yeah,
talk about
vaccine.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
vaccine visas will mean you have to check into a country in the same way you check into a hotel. You have to have your vaccine visa, and you have to have a credit card with a certain amount of money on it for each day you are in that country. And that country will draw down on your credit card a credit against each day that you stay in the country, just like a hotel does. And in case anything happens to you, they have the funds to send you back to your country. And there's just no way that you can have mass tourism on the scale that we had it. And therefore, it was our duty to come up with a new model of tourism. I said that in January of last year. Now, it is my feeling, in January of last year, people were saying, no, this is going to be over in 3 months. We're going to open in June. Then June came, and then it was pushed back to August, September. August, September came, we opened, COVID exploded. All right, then we said, okay, no, it's going to be November. Then hotels tried to open in November, December, then they closed. And we had a situation where the tests that people are supposed to take after 5 days of being in the country, according to published reports, 70% of tourists didn't show up for those tests. When that sort of thing happens, that's how you get banned. If we say now, well, the vaccines are here, according to published reports, we only have 80,000 doses, or we're getting 80,000 doses. That means 40,000 recipients of the vaccine. But I haven't seen a rollout program that says, for instance, will politicians get them first? They seem to be the most unnecessary persons in this process. What about medical staff and police officers to keep the peace? Have we a program? Do we know how many hotel workers we need? Because if you're going to have vaccines, mustn't you have hotel workers who will be working in the properties that are open so we can generate U.S. income? And then that's the fundamental question. Whatever I've seen people talk about agriculture and diversification, and we should open the local economy. None of that works. In a crisis, you have to focus. If you're on the Titanic, there's no point in polishing the glasses and making sure the plates are clean. What is important is stopping the ship from sinking. And there's only one way we have at the moment to stop the ship from sinking. And that is American heads in Bahamian beds. American heads in Bahamian beds mean that we have US dollar income and we are able to feed the peg, secure the peg between the US dollar and the Bahamian dollar. Why is that important? And it shocks me to find that even senior officials don't understand this. When they say, let's open the domestic economy, they don't seem to understand that they're threatening the peg. And I've heard Bahamians say, well, we have to avoid devaluation. There is no devaluation in a peg. The peg is between the Bahamian dollar and the US dollar. But in this relationship, the Bahamian dollar has no value, zero value. It's just a receipt for the US dollar. And the way it works is that if I pay Michelle Malcolm for something, and Michelle Malcolm pays Lester Cox, and Lester Cox pays Nahaja Black, and Nahaja Black pays Warren McCartney, and Warren McCartney pays Howard Grant, and Howard Grant goes to Starbucks. If Howard Grant keeps going to Starbucks, Starbucks then has to order new products. If Howard Grant goes to Super Value eventually has to order new products. Super Value then has to take the Bahamian dollars that they're earning from Bahamian people, convert it to US dollars. But if you don't have any US income because you don't have any tourists and any appreciable numbers, eventually you will eliminate all your US dollars and put the Bahamian economy at risk. So you can't open the domestic economy unless you have US dollars coming in. The only way to have US dollars coming in at the moment in appreciable numbers is to have COVID trust-free zones. COVID trust-free zones are not about managing COVID in the Bahamian population. COVID trust-free zones are about managing COVID in specific locations that generate US currency.
So let me ask you something, Professor Morris. Are you suggesting that the only way that we would be able to achieve that goal that you just described would be to, what's the word I'm looking for? Would the only way be for us to adhere to a policy of implementing the vaccination visa as you described it? Are you saying that we pretty much aren't going to have any choice in the matter as it relates to that?
We're not going to have any choice. We unfortunately, and again, I'm not attacking anyone. You know, you have to keep saying that because in our country, no matter which party's in power, we have people behave, and you know, we haven't come to the point of invading the Capitol, but some of our people behave just like those Trump supporters. You can't make any substantive point, and some of our politicians and public officials behave that way as well. They don't hear what you're saying. All they know is you didn't praise them and give hosannas and lay roses before them as they marched into the city. We are in a situation now of economic triage. And I said on your show a year ago, we should avoid that. And that is, we now are shoring up the peg, making sure the US dollar reserves are high. So in a pandemic, public officials have said things like, well, the reserves are 2.3 billion. They are higher now than before COVID. But how is that possible in a country that imports over 90% of what it consumes in the middle of a pandemic where you've lost almost 85% of your recurrent, your national income? How is it possible that you could have an improved reserve position? It must mean that somebody is suffering. Somebody is suffering. We have 120,000 Bahamians who are food insecure. And again, I'm not criticizing anybody. We have an abject failure in the last year to educate our children in what was already a troubled education system. Right? We have probably over 60% unemployment. I can't tell from the numbers. I tried to case it out and so on, but certainly a significantly high unemployment or underemployment. All right. And we haven't come up with a strategy that generates large numbers of tourists. Now, there are people who say, but Morris, why are you harping on tourism? Shouldn't we be diversifying? Yeah, that sounds nice in a textbook. But when you are in a crisis, that's not the time to diversify. In a crisis, you use what you know and what you have. That's what you do. And you maximize what you know and what you have. We have 100 years of experience in tourism. We have 100 years of experience in financial services. Financial services is COVID neutral. Hong Kong, the Chinese imposed themselves on Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a free market system before that. There are over 1.4 million companies in Hong Kong that are looking now for a place to go. That means that in March of last year, already we should have had a team set up with an electronic platform to entice companies from China to set up in the Bahamas, because we are financial services people. And financial services doesn't require any COVID compliance. That's just companies registering on an electronic platform in another location. The same thing with Brexit in London. Lots of companies looking for a place to go. Again, we should have had a team ready for that and begin to entice them, set up an electronic platform, spend the last 10 months building it if necessary to attract. And this is really what Cayman did. If you look at Cayman Islands, which I now rank, so I rank the 7 best performing countries. Cayman is now in that 7 best performing countries in the world, with Taiwan, South Korea, Japan. When there's no post-COVID, but when Cayman emerges economically out of this situation, it will not be primarily a financial center or tourist destination. It will be a health and wellness center, because
Professor, we're having a hard time. I think your internet connection is a bit unstable, Professor. You're dropping in and out. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to take a break. I want you to, if you can hear me, I want you to stick a pin in that thought. We're going to take a break, and on the other side of the break, hopefully your internet connection will have stabilized, and then we can hear that thought. So stay with us, everyone. This is GPS, your global paradigm shift.
healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466. At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
And welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. Always a pleasure to be in your company, as I traditionally say on my show. Guys, I'm not seeing myself on Facebook, so I'm not sure what's happening here. I can hear myself. Okay, it's up now. All right, welcome back. We're talking with Professor Gilbert Morris. And prior to the break, he was having some issues with his internet connection, and so hopefully it has stabilized a bit, and if not, then we'll have him call in. So, Professor, you had started to make a point when I interrupted you, and hopefully you remembered what that point is and can just pick up from from where you left off.
Yes, I was saying that countries have been strategic, and Cayman stands out amongst those countries as one of the most strategic, in that Cayman has positioned itself now so that it's used the last 10 months to reform its education system, social system, reform a variety of laws, make its society more equal and transparent. And it has taken in almost $500 million in investment in its health sector. Cayman has what is called a health city for high-end medical tourism. And so Cayman will emerge with a third pillar of its economy, now almost equal to the first two pillars, that is to say, financial services, tourism, and now health and wellness. And this is the kind of thing that a country is supposed to spend its time doing in the middle of a pandemic. And Turks and Caicos is about to do the same with e-government and an investment to basically turn the country into an iPad, where just about everything is contactless and electronic. And so we in the Bahamas, we have an additional problem with the peg because we have to convert Bahamian dollars to US dollars. But if you have 10 billion, I'm just as an example, 10 billion, I'm not saying we have 10 billion, I'm saying as an example, if you have 10 billion Bahamian dollars and you only have 2 billion US dollars in your reserves, you have only $2 billion because you have only $2 billion, all right, that is tradable worldwide. That $10 billion in the Bahamas, if everybody in the Bahamas needs something, you now are going to have to apportion a share of that $2 billion, and you can't apportion all because you have to maintain a balance of about, 3 to 6 weeks supply of goods for the country. So it's very, very important for us to understand how the peg and exchange control, is what people know it as on the street, puts us in an even more severe position in respect of the economic impacts of COVID-19. So in a situation like this, we have to be like Taiwan or like Cayman and become more proactive. We should have 24/7 government going on. You should be outside of Parliament or the Prime Minister's office or some research center at UOB, covering the new plans and new concepts and ideas that are going to be implemented to switch the paradigm, if you'll forgive me, of our economic and social model to be able to
Gilbert, your internet connection is unstable again. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a telephone number that I want you to call in.
on your
I don't know if you can hear me at all. The number I want you to call in on is 828-3543. 828-3543. Professor Morris, if you can hear me, let me WhatsApp this to you right now. Call in on that number, and we will continue this interview with you over the phone so that we won't have to continuously interrupt because of your internet connection. So I just WhatsApped you the number. Call me on 828-3543. And we will continue the conversation that way. In the meantime, let's look at some Facebook messages. Sheila Young says, thinking, shouldn't reformation and diversification around a time of pandemic be a better way to go? If the old way is showing a decline in working, producing, generating, etc. That is a very good question, Sheila. And hopefully Professor Morris will call in soon. I see he's still online. Professor, if you can hear me, please call 828-3543. 828-3543. I need you to dial in that number, and we will be able to get you back in on the conversation that way because your internet connection is rather unstable, and I think we're going to continue to have a problem with that. Okay. So this is him calling now, I do believe. Professor Morris, is this you? What am I supposed to press here? Professor Morris, can you hear us? Hello? Professor Morris, is this you? Okay, my technician is coming into the room now to try to figure out what's happening here to get you heard. Hello? I'm hearing him on the phone, but I'm not hearing him through the board. Just a second, Professor. Go ahead, speak. Professor Morris, go ahead and speak. Not hearing him. Okay, we're going to continue to work on these technical issues, trying to get him back up on the board. Professor Morris, go ahead and say something for me, please.
Yes.
Okay, I can hear him now. Go ahead and speak.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, very good. All right, very good.
So let me ask you this.
I heard the question from your
Yeah, okay.
your Facebook. Yes.
Uh-huh.
The answer is it depends. If you have a large available resources, so for instance, we borrowed over $4 billion in the last, say, 3.5 years, it seems, something like that. A significant amount of money during COVID. But we used that money to shore up the foreign reserves. Suppose we've taken, let's say, $1 billion of that money, and we said we want to put that money in some diversified space. What diversified space would you put it in? If you put it in, let's say, developing food security doesn't generate foreign income. So all you'd be doing is putting it in food security. Bahamians would be spending money, but we have to import everything to sustain that industry. Where are we going to get the US dollars from to pay for those imports?
Let me ask you something, Professor Morris. These suggestions that you're making as to what we can do in this new reality that we face, is it too late? Are we at the point where the horse is out the gate and there's no bringing it back, and we would have missed an opportunity by not doing these things prior to, or can it still be done?
Infrastructure. Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
Okay, I was asking the suggestions that you're making as it relates to what we need to do.
Yeah.
Is it too late? Is the horse out the gate now and there's no pulling it back behind the gate?
Yeah.
Or should these, what do we do? Is it possible to?
Let me give you the context for that. The United States is our tourist source country.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to get the cruise ship tourists back. That's not going to happen. That's indefinite. We don't know under what circumstances that will happen.
I'm hearing that the cruise industry is going to be no more at all, even though they keep saying it'll come back this time, it'll come back that time. For what I'm hearing.
Well, scholars and economists on tourism are beginning to say that. I said that again in January on your show, and I said that, and I got a call from someone in the cruise industry who's a great friend of mine who ran one of the biggest cruise lines in the world. But I said the cruise ships are now giant bugs on the ocean. And you have large numbers of cruise ships that are still orphaned out in the ocean. And a new phenomenon has developed called cruise ship suicide, where staff on those ships who haven't been able to leave have been committing suicide in increasing numbers.
That's crazy.
So the reputation of cruise ships is going to be difficult. And the cruise ships made the same mistake that many countries in the world made.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take their available cash and invest it in the most advanced technology and in partnership with countries like the Bahamas to develop a model that made cruise ships safe for travel. So we didn't do that. Number two, if you look at America, our tourist source country, I said on your show in January of last year that given Trump's behavior and the failure to put in place a federally managed program, so in every state you have the same policy for testing, for social distancing, for mask wearing, all at the same time. And then you measure those responses, that because of the absence of that, you are going to have an extension of COVID-19 in the United States. Now, 40 states are breaking records, and the death toll in the United States are breaking records. And I'm sorry to say, it will hit 500,000, 500,000 deaths, long before Mr. Biden is able to do anything to correct the situation. So if you have increasing numbers of deaths, different states with different programs, a vaccine program for which you do not yet have a logistics strategy for vaccinating people, then that means that's our tourist source country. If you have increasing violence, and no matter what Mr. Biden says, God bless his heart, there are 40% of the United States citizens who say they are not going to take the vaccine. And they regard having to take the vaccine as an infringement on their freedom. So if you have that kind of dynamic going on in our tourist source country, where are we going to get the tourists from? According to our old economic model. That old economic model doesn't work. But if you try to diversify by saying you're going to invest in agriculture,
it's going to take time.
You actually need the income, U.S. income that the old economic model used to provide. Because everything you will do to fix agriculture, you might be able to get some subsistence, living and so on, and use, say, the sand dollar as the payment channel to generate some agribusiness. But it's not going to be on the scale that you can solve the national problem. This is time for big, massive ideas, massive concepts, massive efficiencies in implementation. I want people to understand what we have to achieve here. All right? And so we have to generate probably $2.5 billion in revenue annually, not using the old system that we had come to depend upon, and not being able to depend upon the United States. The Bahamas has never faced such a thing since 1723, when its economy began.
Are you concerned that we are not hearing any concrete plans from our leaders as to how they're going to get the Bahamas out of this fix?
Well, you know, the problem, as I said before, there are no experts on COVID. I said on your show at that time, a year ago, pandemics are not about medicine. They have nothing to do with it. They are about econometrics, logistics, interstitial demographics, data generation, seeking out generator functions for policy ideas, testing them, generating big data, analyzing that data, resetting, re-implementing, and repeat. That's how you deal with a pandemic. Now, we haven't dealt with any sector of not crime, not education, not healthcare, not the economy. We have nothing in our country, in the history of our country, where we have approached it with that kind of depth and efficiency. Nothing. If we understood what we were facing, we would have by now probably had unity government. And
had what? We would have had what? I missed that. We would have had what?
Unity government.
Like a coalition government.
That's right. We would have had an invitation to, and I expressed this on another show a year ago, because a pandemic requires all aspects of society, particularly when you are a dependent microeconomy, where you're dependent on, we ran a lazy plantation system of tourism, right? You just sit here with the things that God gave us. You throw up some hotels, and you just wait for the tourists to come, or you apply a couple of dollars and try to get them to come. You pile them up big and high, and then you smile and say,
we have 7 million tourists. But 7 million tourists does not mean a successful tourism industry, right? The question is, what is the per day spend rate of those tourists? And how does it impact the economic lives of Bahamians? Mm-hmm. That's really the only question. And it is my concern that we never begin any economic model with that question. How does it impact the daily economic lives of Bahamians? And is it sustainable? That 7 million tourists, even if it was not COVID, a hurricane, a U.S. travel ban, a pandemic, cruise ships who are upset at us, any one of those things could undermine that model. That means that we should have been planning decades ago to come up with another model while we're using what is available to us, come up with another more sustainable model to protect the economic viability of the Bahamas and the economic life of Bahamians. That ought to be the driving factor in everything that we do. So to your question, whether it's too late, I give you the context. Look at the United States, our tourist source country, and what is happening there. That's point number one. I said that this would happen a year ago, and it's happening now. And even if Joe Biden were to vaccinate every single American, remember, you can still transmit the disease even if you're vaccinated.
Well,
so
now. You're right. Go ahead.
If you're if you're vaccinated and you come into the Bahamas, you still have the risk of spreading COVID in the Bahamas. And when that spread, we'll be shut down. So you're right back to square one again. See, and that's how it's almost like the butterfly effect, to be honest with you. And this is part of what I'll be saying in these global lectures, where I'm going to be interviewing teams from some of the universities that have participated in the vaccine development, because I want Bahamians to make sure they understand the real deal about what's happening. And this is not so you can criticize the government. This is so we can contribute to moving our country out of harm's way. That's really the important thing. The problem is the information ecology of the Bahamas is filled with disinformation, all right? Childish, reactionary responses by some public officials, and inability to receive even constructive criticism or advice, and a political model in which whomever in power is a king, and therefore not open, can't risk, it seems, can't risk being seen to be taking genuine advice.
My God.
So we've done all these things. We set up a committee, we borrowed money, all right? We copied something from Barbados, all these things, but once again, Bahamians are looking and saying, but none of these things are moving the needle. None of these things, and when we say that, instead of our public officials saying, okay, we tried those things for 30 days or for 60, it didn't work, next and better, let's move on. We have no time to defend ourselves. We have no time to accuse you of being anti-government or whatever it is. There's a pandemic going on, and we need the best, the sharpest idea. If we were operating the way I would have us operate, Ms. Malcolm, you wouldn't be available to be doing this show because you're busy on the eastern seaboard of the United States running a massive PR campaign, all right, to get persons who have been vaccinated, persons who have negative tests, persons who are extremely wealthy to come to our COVID-free trust zone. That's what you'd be doing. Myself and others like me would be around the table, rowing each other out, proposing ideas, and then the best of those ideas that are easily implementable, that generate the largest amount of income, those ideas will be implemented. I recommended on your show a year ago, we designate Eleuthera, designate Exuma, designate Paradise Island. We own our own airline. I recommended on your show a year ago that we take our airline and test. We are an archipelago. That's a key advantage over almost every country in the world that's dealing with COVID in the manner that we have to. So we had the opportunity for the last 12 months to use our own airline and our archipelago and go between the islands and test travel protocol and travel processes and perfect it. Then lease jets for Bahamas Air, which I proposed a year ago, and set up at airports along the eastern seaboard in the United States our own Bahamas testing center and make it festive. Have Bombay, Junkanoo Festival, Junkanoo groups, have food, everything, our own testing center, all right, with our consultant physicians and immunologists and people like that on the eastern seaboard, so the Bahamas showing out in all of its sectors. People would come in, get their tests on American soil, aided by with Bahamian support. And if they test negative or they are vaccinated, they can get on a Bahamas Air jet that is COVID compliant and be flown to the Bahamas to a COVID-free zone. And it's COVID-free, so you have to be COVID-free to enter. And then we have their monitoring technologies that allow us to monitor and check each guest, all right, look at, develop fever maps, generate data to analyze when outbreaks occur and how we can apply our tests, our quarantine, our medical staff, and so on. I recommended on your show a year ago that we get Bahamian biochemists and Bahamian organic chemists, and we send them to places like Brazil, Senegal, the UK, Switzerland, Singapore, where people were working on vaccines, so that whichever one of those countries produced the vaccine, this is a year ago now, the Bahamas could be part of that story. Part of that story. I even featured on my Facebook page a young, brilliant, Black Brazilian organic chemist whose work was noted, and she was even mentioned as a potential candidate for the Nobel Prize. But, and this has nothing to do with this particular government or anything like that. We don't think like that. We don't think about getting involved at a high level.
Here's what I would like to suggest to you, Professor. Here's what I would like to suggest to you. What you're saying sounds wonderful on paper. But the point that you just made is something that we have to take into consideration when we're talking about trying to implement these things. One of our strong points in this country is not systematic planning or execution. So you can have the most brilliant plan on paper, but we still will have to execute that. And this is where we have traditionally fallen down. I mean, just look at it. We said that you have to have a negative COVID test to come in the Bahamas. And then 5 days later, you have to go and you have to take another rapid test. Now we're hearing thousands of visitors came into this country. And once they got you, they were like, to hell with you. I hear. Didn't even check for the second test. And no follow-up. No. So we could have all these lofty plans, but we got to execute it.
Yes. So the same failure to execute laws in the domestic setting, in a non-COVID situation, the same failure that we have in executing laws, like we have large amounts of property taxes not collected. People go to national insurance and find out their companies haven't been paying their national insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Banks collect your insurance for your mortgages, then you find out that banks haven't been paying your insurance for your mortgage. But we don't enforce any law because we are a cronyocracy, and the people who do this are powerful people who are connected to the political system. And so the average Bahamian suffers. That same slack attitude is why you had that failure with people taking the test after 5 days. But here's the point, Ms. Malcolm. I am not prepared to advise in any situation that, well, in the Bahamas, we don't know how to do anything. That's true. We mess up on these systems, and we got 100 different things that we could point to as evidence of that, no matter who is the government of the Bahamas, all right? And no matter what level of the society, private sector, public sector, doesn't matter. We have these kinds of problems. But here's the point about pandemics, Ms. Malcolm. If we do not do what we have never done in this country, we are going to die.
Yeah.
That's the reality of the world doesn't adjust itself because the Bahamians are slack.
Because of your incompetence. Yes.
That's right. We cannot say, well, I've heard people say to me, man, Morris, you always coming up with these complex ideas. The Bahamians aren't going to do that. Okay, I accept it. So start earmarking Crown land for funeral plots.
Prepare to die. Wow.
That's because this is the reality of what we are facing. You think all those deaths in the United States are just going to stay? I don't mean you. I mean one. You think all those deaths in the United States are going to remain in the United States? It's that, then you have people say, well, Professor Morris, God is over us. This is abject nonsense. God is over us more than the 4,000 people a day who are dying. They aren't Christians too. God is over us more than Haiti.
Wow.
God is over us more than Italy. No, it is total nonsense. And the things that we can waste, listen, everything you need to do for COVID is what we should have done in 1967 when we got majority rule.
Well, listen, we got to take a break, but the Bible itself tells you faith without works is dead. So you could have all the faith in the world, but the Lord does expect you to participate in the blessing.
That's right.
All right. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation with Professor Gilbert Morris. We're talking what is the next space? That's the topic of the show. And we're going to look at a couple of the Facebook messages on the other side. Stay with us. This is GPS, your global paradigm shift.
Looking for an extraordinary junior high school with caring, qualified staff and affordable tuition? Then come visit us at Elite School of Excellence, an affiliate of First Step Academy. ABECA-focused and Ministry of Education approved, we foster discipline, integrity, and wisdom while molding our students for success. Call us at 341-8846 or stop by First Step Academy Schools on Fire Trail and Soldy Roads for more information. At Brotherhood Security, your safety is our concern. Providing 24-hour surveillance, mobile patrol, event security, and more, Brotherhood Security gives you 5-star service for half the price. Feel free to WhatsApp or call us at 813-6730 or 431-9064. Brotherhood Security, giving you the best for less.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your longevity associate.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm, and my guest today is Professor Gilbert Morris. We're talking about what is the new space in this new world that we're living in now, post-COVID-19. Our text line is 828-2543, 828-2543. We would love you to send in a text, or if you're watching on Facebook, you can always type in a message on the Facebook page. You can, for those of you listening on radio who want to check it out and actually see the show as it's being broadcast, you can go to the official page of Michelle Malcolm on Facebook, and we are live streaming there. And I want to encourage you to like and share the show. Like and share the show. Let everyone know that GPS is on the air, and invite your friends to tune in to hear what we're talking about today. So I want to go to a couple of the messages on Facebook. This one is from Sheldon Sweeting. It says, I'm hearing a new reality that Bahamians must face and prepare themselves for, and the way we conduct business in the Bahamas won't work in the present pandemic climate. Truer words have never been spoken. Merlene Evans says the competent authority can't save this country. Our economy is going down with him. Oh boy. Terry Bullard. Morning, Miss M and Mr. Morris. I commend Mr. Morris for opining on these childish, mindless, unscientific COVID protocols. It's obvious that the incompetent A is being dictated to, coupled with the fact that the protocols don't conclude with the transmission dynamics. Thank you so much, Terry Bullard. And also Sheldon Sweeting sends another message that says, wow, brilliant ideas and concepts. They won't listen, though, because it's going to benefit Bahamians. I've heard many ideas that would benefit the Bahamas, but the powers that be don't listen or take heed. Love your show, Miss Malcolm. Thank you so much, Sheldon Sweeting. I'm going to go back to the comment, or refer to the comment that Terry Bullard made, and that is with regard to the protocols not coinciding with the transmission dynamics. You mentioned earlier, Professor Morris, about us coming to the place where we're going to have a vaccine visa type of situation. But here's the thing: there's a thing that's been circulating quite a bit in social media, and it asks some very serious, eye-opening questions as it relates to this whole vaccination thing. And I'm going to read a couple of them. It says, questions to the government we all should be asking. If I get vaccinated, can I stop wearing a mask? Answer, no. Can they reopen restaurants, etc., and everyone work normally? Answer, no. Will I be resistant to COVID? Answer, maybe, but we don't know exactly. It probably won't stop you getting it. Number 4, at least I won't be contagious to others anymore? Answer, no. You can still pass it on, possibly. Nobody knows for sure. 5, if we vaccinate all children, will school resume normally? Answer, no. If I am vaccinated, can I stop social distancing? Answer, no. If I am vaccinated, can I stop disinfecting my hands? No. If I vaccinate myself and my grandfather, can we hug each other? No. Will cinemas, theaters, stadiums be reopened thanks to vaccines? No. Will the vaccinated be able to gather? No. What is the real benefit of vaccination? The virus won't kill you. Are you sure it won't kill me? No. I'm just reading now these questions that are circulating out there. Yes. If statistically the virus didn't kill me anyway, why would I get vaccinated? To protect others. So if I get vaccinated, the others are 100% sure I'm not infecting them? No. So Continuing to read from this post. So the shot does not give immunity, does not eliminate the virus, does not prevent death, does not guarantee you won't get it, does not prevent you from getting it, does not stop you from passing it on, does not eliminate the need for travel bans, does not eliminate the need for business closures, does not eliminate the need for lockdowns, does not eliminate the need for masking. So the question it ends with is, what is it actually doing? Now, what concerns me is, I mean, these are some valid questions to be asked, but what concerns me is it seems that our leaders are looking to the vaccine as the savior, that we're just waiting for this vaccine to come and then all will be well in the world and in the Bahamas. And quite frankly, I'm not sure that that is true. Are we, living in la la land if we're relying on this vaccine to be our savior?
Well, we the Bahamas government and many small countries and many countries where we don't think about, or developing countries in Africa, some South American countries, although South American countries have been very, very proactive. I mean, Brazil has a vibrant organic chemistry community in spite of their mini Trump president. Mm-hmm. The questions that were asked are all, and the answers given are all accurate insofar as the research determines. Now, I've read more than 2,700 real-time studies and research papers on every aspect of this, all right, this pandemic. And one of the problems when you decide on a strategy to deal with a pandemic, you have to pay attention to the infection proposition and whether or not the decisions you make produce health safety in one way or the other. And that is why I said we shouldn't be looking at this vaccine with our mouths gaping open like we are birds waiting for the mother bird to come and bring the worm. We are a country. We have a national university. We have chemists over there. We have the medical industry. We have people who have the technical background to deal with medicine. We have pharmacists. We have people who can deal with these questions effectively. I suggested instead of just standing around, well, before the vaccines were developed, there were things we could have done to put ourselves in a positive situation. Before the vaccine was developed, there were 7 countries doing all the right things, such as Taiwan, such as South Korea, such as Japan and the rest, such as Senegal, doing all the right things, none of which we did. All right? Because if you take the dashboard where we're looking at the statistics of the infections and the deaths as a percentage of the number of infections, in my view, and this is not to say anything about our statistical staff and the medical staff and the chief medical officer, but really every statistics student at UOB would be asking the question, what is the use of this dashboard if you don't have information, if you're not drawing it from an aggregate of the entire population? You understand me? So you should have infection rate as a component of the either testing or the measurement of the entire population, then death rate as a percentage of that. And then you should be able to show how you have made that determination, whether by diagnostic surveys, by fever maps, by testing, or combinations thereof with random samplings across the population. You have to have a methodology that reads the aggregate of the population. If all you're doing is people are coming into clinics and say, I think I got COVID, and you put that down, that's one person. Another person, yeah, I think I get, that's 2 persons. And then you say the number of infections are 100 and the number of people who died are 3. It's useless. You have to know what's happening in the population. And then once you do that, when you have an aggregate strategy, and so people say, well, man, Morris, we don't have the resources for that. Okay, then, I hear that. So that's an honest answer. We don't have the resources for that. But if you don't get the resources, we are going to die. So what do? What's your net? Once you admit we don't have the resources, what's your net? You say, okay, Morris, what is this thing you said about COVID-free zones where you could use eluterate zone? What is that for? I respond, that is to generate income so you could have the money to do the kind of things you need to do to protect the population. That is to generate money to protect our economic model while we are doing the things that are necessary to keep the population healthy. So, okay, Morris, you're saying to me that in order to meet the criteria of having a valid dashboard that gives real information based on big data, we need technology and we need to engage our local technologists. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Okay, and if we don't have the money to do that, you're saying we need to use a new feature of our old tourist model, a more efficient feature of our old tourist model, because we are an archipelago, God bless us, because we have our own airline, God bless us, all right, we need to use those resources to generate sustainable income so we could plan a proper health protocol that covers the entire population of the Bahamas. My answer is yes, that's what we need to do. Person says, well, Morris, we've never done anything like that in our history. My answer is, I hear you.
If you keep doing the same thing you're doing, expecting a different result. Yeah.
When you're 12, you've never been 13. When you're 13, you can't say this is new to me.
Yeah.
You got to be 13.
You have to be willing to make changes if you want to see changes happen. You have to be willing to make changes. Yeah.
So you can't, there's no answer in saying, and I've seen this answer from senior people. Man, Morris, this stuff you're talking about, Bahamas isn't ready for that. Okay, then get ready to die. That's just the reality. And I hate to be this caustic and so on. And my mother's always preaching me that, darling, do be sweet. And so my thing is that yes, I want to obey Mumsy and be sweet, but we need to discuss the candy facts. And the candy fact, sweet on the tongue, is that if we don't adopt these strategies, if we don't have 24/7 strategic government, if we don't involve everybody, if we don't make this government or any other government in the near future successful, we are going to suffer. We are already suffering. And if we sit here and say, well, the U.S. will soon open up, they'll have the vaccine and then they're going to open up. No. I said last year, January, when everybody was saying it'll be May, June, everything will be back to normal, I said, no, it'll be late 2021. I'm changing that now and saying, if anything is going to happen, it's going to be late post-summer 2022. That's what the data say. And that means we will be dead.
Well, here's the thing, though, Professor. I'm not convinced that this is not all planned, because I have seen videos with Bill Gates talking about, this pandemic 1 and then the rollout of the vaccine, and then you'll have pandemic 2. Like, he's telling you what coming. So, I tend to agree with you, and I'm even more skeptical as if it'll be back to business by then, because to me this whole thing is orchestrated, and the people who are controlling this whole thing are deciding when and who and how and where things will be back to normal. And what concerns me? Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go on.
No, go ahead. You're going to make a point.
Here's my point. I understand how it can seem. I understand how it can seem. The problem that we face is this. There are people, the pandemics happen all the time. There have been 258 pandemics in human history.
Yes.
The pandemic in 1918, the Spanish flu, changed the outcome of the Treaty of Versailles after the First World War and led to the development of Adolf Hitler, because Woodrow Wilson, who was the president at the time, the U.S. president at the time, behaved just like Trump. He wouldn't give speeches about it. He wouldn't protect the population. He dismissed it as a hoax, all these sorts of things. And you know what happened when he went to Paris for the Treaty of Versailles? He got the Spanish flu. And that put him in bed. So when the Treaty of Versailles was being negotiated, the Europeans wanted to punish Germany into extinction. Woodrow Wilson was opposed to that, but there was no one at the table who could make his case. He was sick in bed with the Spanish flu, whose existence he had denied.
Right.
And so they made the decision to impose brutal sanctions on Germany, which gave rise to Adolf Hitler. All right. So you have in any crisis situation, people who have the resources to exploit that situation in a manner that ensures that they gain more power. There's always that case. So it doesn't have to be a manufactured situation. It's just that when the situation arises, they have the resources to be able to exploit that situation. And in today's world, in a global manner, if you see these listen, one of the things you're trained to do when you're dealing with econometrics or methodologies in social science or interstitial demographics or political strategy or geostrategic strategy, you don't take anything for granted. You see something small happening somewhere, you say, hey, that's a problem. So I want to show you something. We're talking about things like, we haven't even gotten to the point that even in the solution to the COVID-free zones, where you have the trust protocol is things like contact tracing, interstitial demographics, data generation, analyzing generator functions for particular policy options and that sort of thing, right? Even if you do all of that, it's probably unconstitutional because you probably have to invade people's privacy rights. China has been the most successful at maintaining COVID-19, but guess what? There's no Article 15 to Article 28 in China.
Yeah, dictatorship.
You understand?
They tell you what they can do.
Yeah, they can see inside your liver if that's what they want. And they read your emails, they find you wherever you are, and so on. So that's why, you remember I said on your show as well, with the emergency powers, this is just my particular feeling, I think they could have been more constitutionally compliant if we had set up an ombudsman committee with like maybe 100 law students, sociology students, history students at UOB, and that ombudsman committee was there to review the decisions of the competent authority, make sure they are constitutionally aligned, but also analyze their social impact. That's how sophisticated countries behave, because that data that's generated is data that you need. But guess what? You're also training the next generation of legal experts in the Bahamas. You're turning 100 students into actual experts on the Bahamas Constitution. That's an important thing. And you're teaching a group of Bahamians how to be expert crisis managers and analysts. If we had a technology team, so if there's a technology program at UOB, or we get C. Allen Johnson and John Bridwater and Hannah Lindsay and Matthew Monroe and Roy, Roosevelt and Roy Solomon and all these people, Gilbert Kassar, all these technologists, right? Stefan Delabo and the rest. And you say to them, okay, fellas, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up an incubator center for all the data related to COVID. And we expect you to come up with technology ideas on how we could develop monitoring systems, how we could develop fever maps, how we could develop national, coverage systems where we could monitor and address outbreaks for potential outbreaks, we could look at population movement. So in Dubai, there's a technology where if you and I are out somewhere, let's say we say we're going to meet at Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
When we arrive at Starbucks, if we're standing too close to each other, our phones ping. So then we adjust ourselves, right, to make sure we are more than 6 feet apart. Now, when that first came on stream, your phone pinged and it reported that to the authorities right away. Now, in Dubai, when you come within proximity to each other, your phone pings, but it doesn't record it to the authorities. It gives you 1 minute to adjust yourself to ensure that you are socially distant. So you see, it's training the population. But
Mm-hmm.
that means they must have a research team somewhere looking at how the technology is functioning and adjusting it according to what they learn.
Right.
You see my point?
Mm-hmm.
So this is how you handle authority. You can't have a situation where one says, no matter which government it is, I'm the competent authority and that allows me to ignore the Constitution. No. There's no circumstance under which any government or any authority in the Bahamas can ignore the Bahamas Constitution. You can't ignore what gives you your legitimacy. You can't do that, right? So, and it leaves the government liable for lawsuits, all right? So what that means is that when you have, like Dubai, when you have this group that I'm talking about at UOB, number one, you're using your national university and making it part of the conversation for the solution to national problems. You're engaging your young people and making them part of the equation for solving national crisis and national problems. You're putting your young people in the position to view and learn to live and process data to increase the validity of the rule of law in a constitutional democracy. These are good things, structural things. Bahamians have a habit of saying, man, we have time for all of that. Then you have time to die then.
Wow.
Because in countries that are successful, this is what you do.
You have to make the changes.
We never have time to do things the right way. We always have time to do it over. We have to get to a point where we have the time to do things in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, the society is richer, Bahamians are more well-informed, and now those young people who have been part of the process, or in the Dubai situation where they're looking at how the technology performs, and they're saying, don't allow it to ping to the authorities right away. When they come into proximity with each other, two people, and they're not properly socially distant, let it ping to them. Then let them learn to adjust themselves. And then what happens is any ping that you get after that technology adjustment, because...
Did we lose you? Okay, I think we may have. I still see him on the line. I'm not sure why we can't hear him anymore. But anyway, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we will hopefully have Professor Morris back up, and we're going to take a look at some of the comments that you guys are making on Facebook. Stay with us. This is GPS, your global paradigm shift.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Youngevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Escape from the city life to Bacon Air Beach Resort in Piratesville, Mayaguana. Relax in one of 16 air-conditioned rooms just steps away from the ocean. Enjoy scrumptious dishes in our waterfront dining room. Sip on a tropical cocktail, or if you must, stay connected with wireless internet. Nestled on one of the most beautiful beaches in the Bahamas, Bacon Air Beach Resort offers a unique vacation experience. For reservations, call 339-3726 or 463-0182. Want to look your best and feel even better? Visit J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa for the ultimate beauty, body, and anti-aging treatments, offering custom colors, haircuts, vegan anti-freeze treatments, silk blowouts, natural and acrylic nails, unisex pedicures, facials, and massages, all waxing services, and microcurrent therapies for anti-aging and body sculpting. J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madeira Street, telephone 326-7863.
Listen to Glory 93.9 FM for the best mix of traditional, classic, country, contemporary, and Caribbean gospel in New Providence, Bahamas.
Eye Candy Makeup Store is the place for all things beautiful. We are your one-stop shop for Black Opal and Florrie Roberts cosmetics. And we have the largest selections of NYX in the Bahamas, from lash extensions and permanent brows to makeovers that wow. Ask about our signature fresh face look for as low as $32.25. Call us today at 326-2989 for more information. Eye Candy Makeup Store, Harbor Bay, the only place for all things beautiful.
The Catwalk Boutique helps you step out in style, offering a high-fashion, elegant line of ladies' clothing from petite to plus sizes, from chic casual to dazzling evening wear. Come and visit us in our newly renovated boutique in the Helron Plaza, Robinson Road. We're also the leading distributors for wholesale and retail on Hetty's Pantyhose, as well as wholesale beauty supplies, also offering services to the Family Islands. Call us today at 394-6116 or come and visit us in the Helron Plaza, Robinson Road, the Catwalk Boutique, where sophistication begins.
Located on Carmichael Road, Divine Designs Hair Boutique is a haven for women and men looking for professional beauty services. Our state-of-the-art and contemporary equipment creates a relaxing ambiance for you to enjoy while we cater to you. Need a hairstylist? We cater to all types and textures of hair for care and styling. We even have a barber on duty. Need a nail tech? Our technicians provide a range of nail services, including the latest trends. Unwind in one of our massage chairs while you get your pedicure. With our reasonable rates, friendly staff, and over 20 years of experience, you will be in great hands. Call us at 823-1669 or 698-1025 to schedule your appointment. Wanna be pampered? Wanna be slayed? Let Divine Designs make your day.
The freshest wave of glory to hit the Bahamas. This is the all-new Glory 93.9 FM, where God is glorified and the people of God edified.
And we're back. Welcome back to GBS Global Paradigm Shift on Glory 93.9 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. Today we're talking to Professor Gilbert Morris about the new space. What is the new space in this world that we now find ourselves living in? And we invite you to text or message us on Facebook so we can get you in on the conversation. Our text line is 828-2543.
828-2543. And of course, we are streaming live on the official Michelle Malcolm page on Facebook. So go ahead and send us a message there. Speaking of which, I'm going to, did we just lose Professor again? Oh my God, he's been having some issues with his phone. So while we're waiting for that to get sorted out, let's go to a couple of these messages that you guys have sent us. Let me scroll up a bit. Let's see. There was one here from Terry Bullard. It says the incompetent authority has been mandated by the globalists to destroy our economy. They want a great reset, a new form of super capitalism. KCX was correct. This is about controlling humanity. Most of the world leaders are saying the same narrative. It's scary. Influenza A, B, and C mutate quickly with other strains. Why nobody wants to talk and use the approved monoclonal antibiotic vaccine created and approved specifically for COVID-19. AP News is saying what I was suggesting 6 months ago. God help us. All right, 52. Thanks so much for sending in the message. Bertha Smith says, lots of brilliant ideas, but who is listening? Professor Morris is asking if we can call him. Let me find out from him which number to call him on, and then we will see if we can get him on the phone. So let's just deal with that. Okay, waiting for him to, okay. This is a TCI number that he sent. Yeah, okay, we'll call him back on that number. I'll just forward the number to you, Marisha. In the meantime, let's read a couple more of your Facebook messages. Joseph Darville says, sustainable income, Brother Morris, can never happen in a nation where over 40% of population living at or below poverty level due to the inequality in the gains from natural resources. Raquel Edwards says, the doctor is on point. Bertha Smith, her comment, Lord, we are in reverse mode. Child, Bertha, pray. Joseph Darville again says, brilliant mind of Dr. Morris frightens the powers that be. And he also says, Bertha, they're in accelerated mode. And he also says again, why is the Constitution of the Bahamas not on the curriculum in our schools? Well, I dare say that it's because they don't want you to know what your constitutional rights are. Y'all ain't get it yet? The more that they can keep, okay, you were back online. Hi, Dr. Morris. Yes. The more that I was reading. Yes.
We are persevering. We've had 3 different ways of contacting now, so we're doing what we are advising. Mm-hmm. We are innovating.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you still there, Professor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay, you just went a little quiet there for a second. I thought we may have lost you for a second. Okay, I'm going to read one of our Facebook messages. He's on. I'm going to read one of our Facebook messages, and then I want you to respond to this. Terry Bullard said, Ms. Malcolm, you are correct. World leaders are following China's authoritarian protocols and social credit score system. Point is they are doing it incrementally and insidiously in the name of public health, using pseudoscience and scientific dictatorship, coupled with preying on the scientific illiteracy of the masses and repeating false narratives about this COVID construct. How do you respond to that, Professor Morris?
Well, even I believe that what China has set the standard of the most extreme policies without regard to fundamental rights or anything like that. Mm-hmm. China has set a policy that is a dictatorial, that has a dictatorial ethic in its approach and in its model. With the exception of Taiwan, South Korea, New Zealand, Singapore, Senegal, Cayman Islands, Japan, almost every other country is actually becoming a mini China. Approaching, so Britain actually has a higher degree of surveillance than China does.
Say that again?
Britain has a higher degree. of surveillance of its citizens than China does.
Wow.
It has the highest level of surveillance of any country in the world of its citizens. So I was telling you before the break, when you see these little things, now this was true 15 years ago, as it is today. But when you have a pandemic, that small fact balloons into a deep methodological approach to population management and citizens' rights that makes it now difficult for the citizen to resist, because the government said this is for your security.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember the famous phrase by Ben Franklin, persons who are prepared to give up a modicum of liberty for safety shall have neither.
Exactly.
And so that's why setting up this committee, an ombudsman committee, which the Constitution provides for, to review the decisions of the competent authority, is a good strategy, because it maintains a feedback loop so that we remain a constitutional democracy at all times, while educating young people in constitutional propriety and also crisis management. That's a good thing. The problem is our concept of leadership is basically, I got all the power. That's our concept of leadership. Our concept of leadership is control. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Control. If you look at a place like Japan, the COVID-19 in Japan, you haven't heard the Japanese Prime Minister they've had two Prime Ministers during COVID. You haven't heard them make a single speech. Japan's population is 50% of the U.S. population. Japan's death rate from COVID-19 is lower than the U.S. daily death rate. So, but how is that possible? Because the Japanese have a decentralized system when it comes to dealing with public crisis. Now, people say, well, Japan went through the same thing the other Asian countries went through with MERS and SARS and so on.
They had plenty practice.
Yeah, that's what they're going to say.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, though, that they started somewhere and they did practice, right? And they have the mechanisms that are necessary to manage a crisis like this. And even they have suffered outbreaks where because pandemics expose inequalities in a society.
Mm-hmm.
So Singapore was doing the best in the world in the first 6 weeks of COVID-19. But in Singapore, where you have Chinese, Malay, Vietnamese, Indian, and Singapore protected those minority groups in its constitution. So when COVID broke out, they protected those people. But the disease exposed that Singapore was not protecting migrant workers. So all those middle-class Singaporeans with their brilliant degrees and their middle-class status and their lovely government housing that's better than our hotels, and all the good life that Singapore has produced, the migrant workers in the migrant camps caused a massive breakout that made the entire country sick and ruined Singapore's #1 position in the world as a COVID management expert. And the Prime Minister of Singapore, what did he do? Did he say, Gilbert Morris wrote something in our paper saying that our strategy was wrong? He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's too academic. But this person is just a PLP or an FNM or, They didn't say that. He came on television and he said, I was wrong. He said our policy was wrong. He told the world our strategy was wrong. He told the world, even the press conferences that we had previously when we were doing well, when I was standing next to public officials and I was not wearing a mask, we were wrong. So then what did he do? He says the most prestigious entity in Singapore is Singapore Airlines, right? The young ladies who become stewardesses on Singapore Airlines, they are essentially Singapore's Miss University, right? What did the government do? After they said we were wrong, they went to the migrant camps. This is where you have workers, low-wage workers who come in who do all the, landscaping and garbage and all that sort of stuff. All right, because Singapore is a middle-class society where the average Singaporean lives at a higher level than the people who do that kind of work. So what did they do? For these migrant workers who are at the bottom of their society, they took Singapore Airlines staff and they made them assistants to the medical team in those migrant centers. Why would they do that? Two reasons. Number one, to send a message to the country that even our most prestigious people have to humble themselves in this crisis. And this shows that we have to act together as never before. That's number one. Number two, the strategy was the most prestigious company in Singapore, Singapore Airlines. They are going to get 6 months of training in dealing with the worst COVID outbreaks and cases, so that when we open up travel and they're 35,000 feet in the air, they can handle any sort of crisis situation dealing with COVID-19. That's how countries are supposed to function. So that's the same adjustment that Dubai made. That's how you're supposed to function. And young people today who work in banks, who got laid off, front desk people who deal with technology, people in engineering, some hotels and so on, young students with COB. I said 100, but you should have 500 of them working into groups for technology, social services, platform infrastructure, legal issues, economic issues, and so on, headed up by scholars, so if you have your social issue group headed up by, Professor Nicolette Bethel, and, you have on regulations, you have Rowena Bethel, leading that. On infrastructure platforms, you have Leon Williams. On technology, you have C. Allen, you have all these people. Everybody is engaged, right? And the competent authority is receiving the best advice after people in those groups have rallied each other out, come up with a strategy, and present a 3-point plan that is immediately implementable to solve the problem. And what will happen is we will get better and better and better and more efficient. And eventually, the Bahamas will be able to write a story that says, the Bahamas COVID model, example for the world. The Bahamas used its situation as an archipelago to test health travel protocols between their islands. And they were so successful at that it's become a model for the world. I don't see any reason for existing in the world if you're not setting the example.
Speaking of C. Allen Johnson, C. Allen has posted a message on Facebook, and his message says, we must remember those in leadership didn't appear out of thin air. We sent them there. So it is what we desire. If we want different, then we must think different and act different than we did in the past. Insane to keep doing the same thing, sending the least among us to lead and be expecting different results. How do you respond to that, Professor?
No, this is what I said, that it's not just the politicians. I said this at the beginning of the show. It's the politicians, the private sector, the population. What needs to be done for COVID? None of us have ever done. What did I also say? that if the Bahamas was running right, all the protocols that are necessary for COVID, we would have been implementing that from 1967 because that's how you run a small microeconomy. We are supposed to run it as if we are in a crisis of this sort. That's the normal way. This process that I just described about having the teams and the ombudsman committee, we should have had that from the beginning for all these things. Then we wouldn't have sold the telco, we wouldn't have had O-band, we wouldn't have, all these types of things that we allowed ourselves to do. And one of the things, the lectures that I'm giving on the 28th of this month, the 18th of next month, and the following month, the 22nd of April, these lectures we are referring to them as forensic intelligence briefing for the ordinary citizen of the world. These lectures are going to be live in 100 countries across the world. I partnered with an international organization.
Tell our audience how they can access. Tell our audience how they can access your lectures.
There's a website called SpaceNext, SpaceNex.org, and you go there and you register and sign up, and then you have access to the lectures. But we are going to be talking. I'm going to be explaining. This is not the purpose of these lectures. Is not to say how much I was right and how some governments were wrong. In the national context, I have to say that because I'm trying to say these ideas, these concepts, these strategies were out there. People have said to me, "Well, Morris, that's just your opinion." No, it's not my opinion. My position, the things that I said, comes from analyzing 120 countries over the last 12 months, selecting the procedures of the best 7 countries, and looking at the failures of the worst 15 countries, then cross-referencing them to each other. So what I propose in all these things, code zones, the ombudsman system, all these things, those are not yet my opinion. Those are the strategies that have worked best in the world. If we had my opinion, I would be saying, let's lease 15 jets for Bahamas there, right? Take all the hotel rooms, turn them into bonds. Like Bahamians could invest in each hotel room. Use that to make the hotels contactless. Set up a booking system for the Bahamas where all payments abroad register and settle in the Bahamas and go straight to the reserves, because 80% or more of the tourism dollars that are paid for people's holiday in the Bahamas never touches the Bahamas. Right? That money is paid in the United States. Hotel companies then borrow money in the Bahamas in V dollars to run their operation and bring in money where necessary. That's why financial services is so important, because everything in financial services happens in US dollars, right? Or at least it used to. So my point is, if we were doing the Gilbert Morris opinion thing, then the Bahamas would be the spaceship Enterprise by now. So we aren't talking about Gilbert Morris's opinion. We're just talking about the data of the best performing countries and what they can do. And physically, we have a physical advantage over those countries that are performing the best, because we are an archipelago and we can test every idea between the islands. We are making a mistake by borrowing money and using that money to put in the reserves. We should take that borrowed money and finance these processes that I'm talking about, then use the revenue that generates American heads in Bahamian bed, use that revenue to support, because that's sustainable.
Honestly,
to support the peg.
Honestly, if we owned a business and we hired these people to run our business and they ran our business the way they run in this country, we would have fired them a long time. But here's my next question. What can we as individuals do to prepare ourselves, and this is the final question, to prepare ourselves for this new space that we're going to find ourselves in. Government is one thing, national policy is another. But we as individuals will have to make some tough decisions for our own lives and for the preservation of our families, etc. So what are some of the practical things that we can do as individuals to prepare ourselves for the reality of this new space?
So I did a lecture on a Zoom call for a group of cluster of small countries that were worried about what the future holds. So this is the overarching picture. So I'm going to give you 3 levels. This is the overarching picture. And I'll be talking about this in the lecture today.
Okay.
The danger small countries face is that the technological platform that is going to come into being because of COVID is going to be run by large technology corporations around the world, and they will have more data on the citizens of small countries than the governments of small countries. You follow? Yes. Okay. So in that case, it turns the country into a country of digital nomads, where people are living. So you have companies like Fiverr or platforms like Fiverr and Upwork. These are platforms. If you are a graphic artist, if you are a book editor, if you are a teacher, if you are a mathematician, if you teach English, if you can write proposals, you can sign up to work on Fiverr or Upwork, and there's a bunch of them, right? You can sign up to work on them. If you don't have those skills, you can sign up on Coursera, or you can sign up on any of these, Khan Academy, any one of those. Learn the skills, and then go and present yourself to work and get paid in PayPal or a bank account, outside the Bahamas. And all of a sudden, in a pandemic, you are working from the Bahamas, not in the Bahamas.
Making
and the
money.
Bahamas government has no way of tracking.
Exactly. And your clients are from all over the world.
And your clients are from all over the world. And you can make a living like this. So think about what that means. There are people who say, yes, that's the global economy and so on. Yes, that's true. But when countries haven't done the things that I said, we should have been doing the things that we're doing, that the best countries are doing now to prevent COVID-19 and to monitor COVID-19. We should have been doing those things in 1967 because we're a small country. So here's the problem. The 4 biggest technology companies are more powerful and wealthier than 80% of the world's nations. Now, if you're in the boardroom of those 4 companies, what are you thinking to yourself? Let us get the data on all those countries' citizens, and let's make them citizens of our corporation. We'll provide them jobs. We'll provide them peer-to-peer lending. We'll provide them entertainment. All these things, they will just live physically in their country, but they'll earn their money on our platform. We will have all their identification data, and the tax base of those governments will be busy trying to raise taxes on nobody. So, for instance, we're talking about raising the rate, the national insurance contribution. On whom? On whom?
Ain't nobody waking to contribute.
If you have a situation where big companies in the country, people have lined up in the line for the $50 in the sun disgracefully.
20.
And it turns out that their companies have not been paying their national insurance. When you raise the rate, how are you going to make the companies pay if they weren't paying before?
Professor Morris, is 1 o'clock. I gotta have you back. Wow. We covered a lot of...
We want the country to be successful. We want the government to be successful. This is not a situation of attacking the government.
Of course
the
not.
government has to take the view of the Singapore Prime Minister, know how to say I'm wrong, and then immediately change course. That is our only hope.
My response to that? Don't hold your breath. We gotta go. 1 o'clock. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. Wow. Thanks to all of our sponsors and everyone who made the show possible here at Glory 93.9 FM. I'm Michelle Malcolm. This has been GBS, your global paradigm shift. We'll see you tomorrow.